Good morning, students, and welcome to the world of Ngugi wa Thiong'o, a very famous Kenyan writer, journalist, editor, playwright, and his essay Decolonizing the Mind. Okay, while speaking or while discussing education, especially formal education to be given in the mother tongue, in the local language, the writer mainly explains we have grip, that is while sharing his experience the writer mainly says we have a grip in our over our local language, mainly because over our mother tongue, mainly because at home and even outside we do speak local language or our mother tongue. And while sharing his experience, the writer mainly says because of the storytelling session, evenings storytelling session, or by retelling the stories to other children, or by solving riddles, proverbs, by all these things, the children in their the children in their young age, they were able to get the mastery, they were able to get the enrichment, that is their local language, the vocabulary of the local language, it is going to be enriched, going to be widened, extended, mainly by all these factors. So education, especially formal education, to be given in the local languages. And while sharing his experience, the writer he mainly says if the when they had the chance to enjoy their language, they realized, they felt the beauty, the music, the charm, the rhythm of their language, and they started to love their language. So the in that language only, local language only, education to be given. But here the writer, that is even though he loved his local language mainly because of the music, beauty, the rhythm, charm, or magic of his local language, but he was mainly sent to colonial school. And then I went to school, a colonial school, and this harmony was broken. Harmony means a harmonious relationship between the author, between the writer and his local language. So since the school where he was sent, it was mainly run by the British, so there the medium of instruction, it was mainly English. So there he was not allowed to speak in his local language, but mainly in English. So that harmonious relationship between the author and his local language, his mother tongue, it was completely broken. The language of my education was no longer the language of my culture, that is Gikuyu. I first went to Kamandura missionary run, Kamandura school, which was mainly run by missionary, that is by the British, that is medium of instruction, it was English. And then to another called Mangu by nationalist grouped around the Gikuyu Independent and Karinga Schools Association. So in that school, that is Karinga Schools Association, where the medium of instruction, it was mainly Gikuyu. So even though first year of his education, it was mainly English medium school, but later he got the chance to get his education, continuous education, mainly in his local language. Our language of education was still Gikuyu. The very first time I was ever given an ovation, applause, claps for my writing was over a composition in Gikuyu. So for my first 4 years, there was still harmony between the language of my formal education and that of the Limuru peasant community. So thus the writer mainly says, that is since he was allowed to go to Karinga Schools Association, mainly run by Gikuyu and independent board, his medium of instruction, it was Gikuyu. So for the first 4 years of his education, he was allowed to get his education mainly in his local languages. And it was after the declaration of a state of emergency over Kenya in 1952 that all the schools run by patriotic nationalists were taken over by the colonial regime and were placed under district education boards chaired by Englishmen. So even though first 4 years of his education, it was mainly in Gikuyu, but later, that is after 1952, all the schools, they were handed over to British. So there the education institutions, they were mainly chaired, headed by Englishmen. So once again, his medium of instruction, his education, it was mainly in English. English became the language of my formal education. In Kenya, English became more than a language, it was the language, and all the others had to bow before it in deference. In deference means in respect. So here the writer, though they loved their local language because of its beauty, because of its music charm, and they had such a grip over their local language, but later they here these children, they were sent to get their education mainly in their English. So English, it was respected in such a way that other local languages, they were completely sidelined. And since English, it was the language of rulers, so it was respected, where their local languages, they were completely neglected or sidelined. And English was used not merely as an instrument of communication, but mainly as the language of the rulers, the language of the emperors. So English, it enjoyed its own status, its own prestige, whereas Gikuyu, Swahili, other local languages in their own land, they were completely neglected, mainly because English, it was the language of the rulers, it was the language of the officers, so it was given much importance. So later the writer, mainly he shares his bitter experience to defend his statement. English became more than a language, or English, it was respected in each and every way. Here the defending that statement, the author quotes some of the examples or some of his bitter experiences. The author shares some of his bitter experiences where the local languages in their own land have been completely neglected, and the speakers, people who speak local languages, very badly punished, very badly humiliated. So that is he shares his own bitter experiences. Thus, one of the most humiliating experiences was caught speaking Gikuyu in the vicinity. Vicinity means premises. And school in a Sutamata Vatavarana. Premises, vicinity of the school. The culprit. Here culprit means one who commits crime, one who commits bad deed. Here, who is the culprit in this particular context? The one who has been caught while speaking his mother tongue local language Gikuyu. ಅಂದರೆ ಯಾರು ಅವನು ತನ್ನ ಮಾತೃಭಾಷೆಯನ್ನು ಮದರ್ ಟಂಗನ್ನು ಲೋಕಲ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಗ್ವೇಜನ್ನು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾನಲ್ಲ ಅಂಥ ಹುಡುಗ, ಹಿ ವಾಸ್ ಟ್ರೀಟೆಡ್ ಆ್ಯಸ್ ಅ ಕಲ್ಪ್ರಿಟ್. ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಕಲ್ಪ್ರಿಟ್ it has a meaning as the synonym of culprit. It was mainly that is criminal, but here the student who was caught while speaking Gikuyu local language in the vicinity of the school, he was treated as culprit, nothing but criminal. Such a bad name it was given. So the culprit, he was given corporal punishment, that is physical punishment. That is, he was very badly beaten with the canes, 3 to 5 strokes of the cane on bare buttocks, or he was made to carry a metal plate around the neck with inscriptions such as I am stupid, I am a donkey. So, and one more very bad thing, humiliation these children they had undergone, it was mainly that, yes, first punishment, a student while speaking, if he was caught while speaking Gikuyu in the school premises, he was very badly beaten. Second punishment, the boy, the culprit, he has to carry a metal plate around the neck, and in that some inscriptions they were written, some words they used to be written, I am stupid, I am a donkey. And that boy, that culprit, he has to carry that plate with the words, I am stupid, I am a donkey. The whole day in that school, such a humiliation, such a shame, insult he has to face. And even sometimes the culprits were fined money they could hardly afford. So, and one more thing, these children, these Kenyan children, they were very poor. They hadn't anything. But these children, as a punishment, they were fined money. Since they were not able to afford any money, once again for them corporal punishment. So, thus, very badly they were treated, punished. And okay, which method it was used to catch the culprits? The method it was, a button was initially given to one pupil who was supposed to hand it over to whoever was caught speaking his mother tongue. And whoever had the button at the end of the day would sing who had given it to him, and ensuing process would bring out all the culprits of the day. Here the thing it is, thus children were turned into witch hunters, and in the process were being taught the lucrative value of being a traitor to one's immediate community. Here that is the teachers or that institution, educational institution, it had its own method to find out, to catch the culprit. So in the beginning, initially a button it was given to one particular student, and instead of listening the class, instead of attentive in the class, the boy he has to watch who is going to speak in the mother tongue. And suppose a boy with a button, if he finds out, if he catches a student who is speaking mother tongue, immediately he hands over that button to the culprit in the sense a student who has been caught while speaking his mother tongue. And next, that boy he has to watch, okay, who is going to commit the mistake that is of speaking the mother tongue. And next, if he finds another student, another culprit, he has to hand over that button to another student. Thus the process goes on, and at the end, one boy that is the last one, last boy, last culprit, he has to carry that, he has to keep the button with him, and he has to tell the teacher who has given that button to him. And another boy, he has to tell the teacher who has handed over that button to this boy. Thus the complete process, it used to tell who the name of all the culprits. Thus it was a very easy method for the school to find out the culprits. And once again the writer very badly says, thus the children were turned into witch hunters. That means the children, instead of being attentive in the class, their duty only to find out who is the culprit, who is going to commit the mistake of speaking their mother tongue. And in that process were being taught the lucrative value of being a traitor to one's immediate community. Thus these children, they were forced to hate their own mother tongue, hate their own community, mainly because if a student speaks his mother tongue, he is going to be very badly punished, humiliated, very badly insulted. Thus these children, they were taught to hate their own community, their own local language, their own mother tongue, and they started to treat other fellow beings as the traitors, or they started to hate other fellow beings. Thus here the writer mainly very badly says, these children, they were forced to hate their own languages. Okay, thank you.